Okay, I'm going to take one more of the international questions because it's been asked by several countries. And then I'm going to move on to questions from the United States, although if we have time, I will come back to the international questions. This is a question from Argentina. It starts with the usual fuerte abrazos. It's from the activists of the National and Popular Movement who are a part of the government coalition of Cristina Kirchner and includes politicians, economists, philosophers, and system analysts from around the country. And they send greetings in these moments so crucial for humanity as a whole. And they compliment Lynn on the fact that he anticipated the mass strike that is currently extending across the globe. Their question is this, and as I said, it's a similar question that's come from several other countries. Say, Mr. LaRouche, do you think that a suit by sovereign nations against the IMF and World Bank is a viable idea, since an audit of the debt will prove the fraud, which we all know occurred, and which has the potential to take down the most visible side of the Inter-Alpha Group, as well as those two institutions? Thank you for your legendary battle against the British Empire, our common enemy and the enemy of all humanity.
Well, the British Empire is something which I intend shall be destroyed. You don't negotiate with a hole in the road, you fix it. You fill the hole up. And we don't want to... The British Empire is not a nation, it's not an interest, it's a disease. And it's a disease for the British. Look at the British when they're walking down the streets in London. Look at them. They're wider than they are tall. You think they should, instead of walking, they should roll. It's not a good condition of life. I mean, getting that fat is not good. You've got a bad diet. Your brain is probably going to suffer from carrying all that stuff. And I don't see it's done any good to the British people. The English people in particular, they're more prone to that. The Scots tend to be a bit leaner, but the British tend to be a little bit fatter. So there's no need for this British Empire. Look, for example, my intention is, I'm not ashamed of it, is to destroy the British Empire and destroy monetarism. And because I think human beings ought to think like human beings and not think like creatures of this passion of crazy liberalism. It's immoral. Look what it does. It makes people stupid. It makes them immoral. We don't need liberalism. We should have a museum for it, which is, we don't let children into that museum because we don't want them to see what goes on in that museum of British culture. No, that's the situation, and that's the way we've got to think about these things. In the case of Argentina, we had some work done. We did years ago on that. I was very much interested in what was being done scientifically in terms of production in nuclear power and so forth in Argentina. And guess what? The usual suspects tried to crush all the good things that were happening in Argentina, which are very progressive. Argentina had one unfortunate thing: it had no Indians. They killed them. They eliminated them. But the point is, otherwise, the three groups of the Spanish-speaking, the German-speaking, the Italian-speaking, which are the predominant characteristics of the population of Argentina, had a great propensity for scientific progress. They developed. They also grew a lot of meat, and which people around the world were eating. I don't know how they're doing nowadays. But it's a very good country with great potential. We've gone through some of the territory. They've got a tap down there in Argentina. They've got territory which is virtually untapped, river systems and everything of the sort you can imagine, which most parts of the world would be delighted to have access to. So I think the Argentines themselves ought to have a chance to have better access to their own territory. And that's my view of the thing. But the point is, this problem is like the other problems we've been discussing here now. The point is, we need a global system of sovereign nation states with common aims of mankind, like platforms and things like that. And then a credit system as opposed to a monetary system by which those nations which think something is good and they can show that it is good, that it's going to work, and show that the thing is going to perform on time, so they're not going to have a bunch of bankruptcies all over the place. These projects should be encouraged and assisted by cooperation among nations, by willing cooperation. And take a country like Argentina, it has much potential. It has much potential for the realization of science in terms of production. And I think that should be the objective. It also can grow a lot of good meat, which I think we have a lot of hungry people in the world, and I think that they would probably enjoy that. So that's the thing. It's the same thing I've said otherwise. Argentina has a very important special place. It's unique in its characteristics relative to other countries in South America. It has a scientific potential, a history of scientific potential, of which there's still a residue left down there for nuclear power and things like that. And I would think that our objective should be to foster the ability of Argentina to realize these, what are now relics of their promising moments of the past, just as every other nation. But again, we need a global view, not a fix-it nation by nation. We need a global view because we're ruled now by an international monetary system, which is essentially the British Empire. It's a British system which rules us like fools because we believe in liberalism. Get rid of that and decide that national sovereignty and the development of the mind of the children, not the sense perception of the children, the mind of the children is what's important. If you inspire the minds of our children, you don't have to worry about the sense perception. Get away from sense perception. It's what kills us, what makes us prisoners of the British system. They bribe us with corruption, offer corruption. Well, this is going to be pleasure, don't you know? That's going to be pain. You don't want pain, do you? You want pleasure, don't you? Well, then go along with us. Stop your quibbling. We offer you pleasure. You want to be a prostitute? You can do it. If that gives you pleasure. No, I think that the problem here is the sense of the nation, the sense of mankind, the sense of what the human mind is, and that it's the exercise of these creative powers of the human mind, which should be the essential form of our pleasure. With pleasure we experience by receiving discoveries of great ideas, great discoveries by our predecessors, and thinking that we're making a contribution perhaps to something that will astonish our successors. And that's what we should do. That attitude of creating a system of sovereign nation states on this planet based, as President Roosevelt intended, on a credit system, not a monetary system, promoting the levels and plateaus, the platforms of mankind's ability to produce, meet its own needs, and common aims of mankind for the future. We have to deal with the problems around us, not only on Earth, but around Earth. That's a scientific question, but it's there. And that's the way we have to think. We have to change the way of idea of competition in the sense of the brutish sense of competition. Competition is fine, as long as it's not brutish. Competition means we're going to exercise what were our capabilities to contribute something to humanity. That's fine. That's good competition. Competition in the sense of being destructive is bad. And we need cooperation. And we need to have respect for what the other fellow's doing. Maybe it's useful to us. Maybe we should take a look into it. And I think it's that simple. I've said it before in answers to questions before. I don't think I need to say it again. That's the way to go. A system of sovereign nation states on this planet, which we should be able to establish immediately in the course of this present breakdown crisis, where the choice is between the breakdown of the planet and civilization as a whole, or survival. And survival means going to a new system of its credit system based on national sovereignties, cooperation in the fixed exchange rate system among national sovereignties, to develop common platforms, common levels of platform, and common intentions as to choice of goals. No conflict. Just do it. The time has come, we should be smart enough to do that.